Nathaniel Reed had never seen anything quite like the Twilight's embrace. The diplomatic vessel hung in space like a crystal flower, its translucent petals unfurling into the void. As his small shuttle approached, he could see ribbons of light dancing across its surface, not mere reflections, but the actual thoughts of the Lysarian crew made manifest through their unique biotechnology. "Please maintain your current trajectory," a melodic voice echoed through his comm system. "The neural dock is aligning with your vessel." Nathaniel checked his credentials one last time. After 15 years in the diplomatic corps, this was his first solo mission of real significance, helping negotiate trade routes with the notoriously reclusive Lysarian collective. His superiors had chosen him specifically because of his background in xenobiology and his reputation for remaining calm under pressure. The docking procedure was seamless, almost organic. As he stepped through the airlock, the air shifted around him, carrying hints of something like jasmine and ozone. A tall figure waited in the reception chamber, their silver robes rippling with patterns of starlight. "Welcome aboard, Diplomat Reed," the figure bowed slightly. "I am First Speaker Jadden. We are honored by your presence." "The honor is mine," Nathaniel replied, following the traditional greeting he'd studied. "May our thoughts flow clear as stellar winds." Jadden's expression brightened. "You speak the old words well. Come, the priestess captain awaits." As they walked through the corridors, Nathaniel noticed how the walls seemed to pulse with life, responding to the crew's presence. The Lysarians were masters of binding consciousness to technology, creating ships that were almost living entities. The Twilight's Embrace was their newest vessel, a prototype designed specifically for diplomatic missions. They entered what appeared to be a meditation chamber. Sitting cross-legged on a floating platform was the most striking woman Nathaniel had ever seen. Her skin had a subtle iridescence like mother of pearl, and her hair floated around her head in defiance of gravity, each strand shimmering with its own inner light. When she opened her eyes, they were the deep purple of distant nebulae. "Priestess Captain Saren V. Hyra," Jadden announced. "May I present Diplomat Nathaniel Reed of the Earth Alliance." Saren rose with fluid grace. "Welcome to my ship, Diplomat Reed. I trust your journey was peaceful." "Very much so, thank you." Nathaniel tried to focus on diplomacy rather than the way her voice seemed to resonate in his chest. "I'm eager to begin our discussions regarding the trade routes through the Meridian sector." A slight smile curved her lips. "Always business with you humans. Please join me in the ritual of welcome first. It is our way." She gestured to a low table where a clear vessel held what looked like liquid starlight. Nathaniel had been briefed about this, the sharing of blessed water, a Lysarian tradition marking the beginning of important negotiations. What his briefing hadn't mentioned was the way the liquid would sing as it was poured, or how Saren's fingers would brush his as she passed him the ceremonial cup. The moment their skin touched, a spark of electricity jumped between them, and the liquid in the cup began to glow more intensely. Saren's eyes widened slightly. "Interesting, you have a stronger resonance than most humans." "Is that unusual?" Nathaniel asked, trying to ignore the lingering tingle where their hands had touched. "Very, perhaps it's why you were chosen for this mission." She raised her own cup. "Drink with me, Diplomat Reed. Let us begin our journey together." The liquid tasted like stardust and dreams, if such things could have a flavor. As he swallowed, Nathaniel felt a curious warmth spread through his body, followed by a sensation of floating. The room seemed to shift around him, colors becoming more vivid, sounds more musical. "Oh," he heard Saren gasp softly, "this is unexpected." The air between them had begun to shimmer, threads of light connecting their auras in a complex web. Jadden made a sound of surprise and quickly backed away. "Priestess Captain," they said urgently, "the resonance patterns, they're forming a bond matrix." "I can see that," Saren replied, her voice tight with concern. "But it's impossible. The welcome ritual isn't supposed to." Nathaniel tried to speak but found himself caught in a wave of sensation. He could feel Saren's surprise, her confusion, and underneath it all, a flicker of something else, curiosity. Attraction? The emotions weren't his own, yet they felt as real as his racing heart. What's happening? He managed to ask. Something that hasn't occurred in 7 generations, Saren said softly. A spontaneous soul binding. Our essences are compatible in a way that transcends normal biological barriers. The ritual water simply acted as a catalyst. Nathaniel's diplomatic training kicked in through his days. Are you saying we're connected, bound? In my culture, it is considered a form of marriage, though that word doesn't quite capture the depth of it. She took a careful step toward him. I can feel your thoughts, your emotions. Can you feel mine? He could, like whispers in the back of his mind, fragments of her consciousness brushed against his own. Her controlled exterior masked a whirlwind of feelings, duty warring with desire, tradition with curiosity. This complicates the negotiations somewhat, he said, aiming for diplomatic understatement. To his surprise, Saren laughed, a sound like crystal wind chimes. Indeed it does, Nathaniel Reed, indeed it does. She turned to Jadden, who still stood frozen by the door. Please inform the Council of Elders. It seems our trade discussions will need to include some additional considerations. As Jadden hurried away, Saren turned back to Nathaniel. The light between them had settled into a gentle glow, but the connection remained, humming with potential. I suppose, she said with that same musical laugh, this gives new meaning to the phrase diplomatic relations. Despite the gravity of the situation, Nathaniel found himself smiling. At least we can say our first meeting was memorable. Oh, this is just the beginning, Saren replied, her eyes twinkling with that strange stellar light. Welcome to your new life, Diplomat Reed. I hope you're ready for an adventure. Looking at her, feeling the warm pulse of their newfound connection, Nathaniel realized that no briefing could have prepared him for this moment. But as he watched starlight dance across her skin and felt the echo of her thoughts in his mind, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. The negotiations would have to wait. First, they had a bond to understand and perhaps a destiny to explore. The first week of an accidental soul binding, Nathaniel discovered, was rather like learning to dance while falling through space. Every movement, every thought, required careful consideration. The bond between him and Saren hummed constantly in the background of his consciousness, a symphony of shared emotions that neither of them quite knew how to conduct. Try to focus on the sensation of boundaries, Saren instructed, sitting cross-legged across from him in her private meditation chamber. Floating orbs of bioluminescent light cast soft shadows across her ethereal features. Imagine a curtain of stardust between your thoughts and mine. Nathaniel closed his eyes, attempting to follow her guidance. It was difficult to concentrate with the constant awareness of her presence in his mind, a presence that felt increasingly natural despite its alien nature. It's like trying not to think about breathing, he admitted. The moment I focus on it, everything becomes more intense. A ripple of amusement flowed through their connection. You're actually doing quite well for someone who's never experienced psychic bonding before. Most novices can't maintain any separation at all. I had an excellent teacher for meditation back at the Diplomatic Academy, he said, then felt her curiosity peek through their link. Master Thene, she said I was her most stubborn student. Stubborn can be good. Saren's mental touch was gentle, almost playful. It means you don't give up easily. The past week had tested that trait repeatedly. News of their spontaneous binding had spread through the ship like wildfire, causing diplomatic chaos. The Lysarian Council of Elders had convened an emergency session, while Earth's diplomatic corps sent increasingly frantic messages demanding explanations. First speaker Jadden had become their unofficial buffer against the political storm, handling most of the external communications, while Nathaniel and Saren learned to navigate their new reality. The silver-robed diplomats seemed to find the whole situation secretly amusing, though they maintained perfect composure in official meetings. Your thoughts are wandering again, Saren observed, opening her eyes. In the floating light, they seemed to hold entire galaxies. Something troubles you. Just thinking about the trade negotiations, Nathaniel replied. They were supposed to start 3 days ago. They can wait. Saren rose gracefully, her robes shimmering with patterns that reflected her mood, something Nathaniel was learning to read. Today they showed flowing waves, suggesting contemplation. Come, you should see something. She led him through the living corridors of the Twilight's embrace, their footsteps echoing in perfect harmony. The ship seemed to respond to their combined presence, walls pulsing with softer light as they passed. They reached a chamber Nathaniel hadn't visited before, a vast, circular room with a transparent ceiling that opened directly to the stars. This is the heart chamber, Saren explained. It's where we commune with the ship's consciousness. She placed her hand on a crystalline pillar, and suddenly the room came alive with music, not sound exactly, but pure emotion translated into harmonic patterns of light and energy. Through their bond, Nathaniel could feel what she felt. The ship's living pulse, the songs of distant stars, the complex dance of quantum particles that made up reality itself. It was overwhelming and beautiful and terrifying all at once. This is how my people see the universe, Saren said softly. Not just with our eyes or our minds, but with our entire being. The bond we share now, it's similar to how we connect with our ships, our technology, our very understanding of existence. Nathaniel stepped closer to her, drawn by the wonder flowing through their connection. It's incredible. I've never experienced anything like it. Few humans have. She turned to face him, her expression serious. The Council is concerned about this. They fear that sharing such intimate knowledge of our ways with an outsider could be dangerous. I would never use this against your people, Nathaniel said immediately, letting her feel his sincerity through their link. I know. Her smile was like starlight breaking through clouds. That's part of what makes this so fascinating. The bond wouldn't have formed if you weren't truly compatible with our way of seeing things. You're different, Nathaniel Reed, special. The way she said his name sent shivers through both their consciousness. Over the past week, their accidental connection had begun to feel less like a diplomatic incident and more like destiny. The thought should have frightened him, but instead it filled him with a strange sense of rightness. A subtle alarm tone interrupted the moment. First speaker Jadden's voice echoed through the chamber. Priestess Captain, Diplomat Reed, your presence is requested in the council chamber. The Earth Alliance representatives have arrived. Saren's robes shifted to a pattern of sharp angles, concern, maybe anxiety. Earlier than expected. Are you ready for this? Together, Nathaniel offered his hand, a very human gesture that nonetheless felt appropriate. She took it, her fingers intertwining with his. Through their touch, confidence and support flowed both ways. Together, she agreed. As they made their way to the council chamber, Nathaniel found himself thinking about how much had changed in just 1 week. He had come aboard the Twilight's embrace expecting to negotiate trade routes. Instead, he had found something far more valuable, a connection that transcended species, a bond that defied explanation, and a partner who made the infinite vastness of space feel like home. But as they approached the council chamber's ornate doors, both could feel the tension waiting on the other side. The Earth Alliance representatives would demand answers, the Lysarian Council would seek guarantees, and their peaceful week of exploration and discovery would give way to political reality. Through their bond, Saren sent a gentle pulse of reassurance. Whatever came next, they would face it as one, their souls already dancing to the same cosmic song, their destinies intertwined like the very threads of space-time around them. The doors opened, revealing a chamber full of expectant faces, both human and Lysarian. Nathaniel squeezed Saren's hand once before letting go, both of them straightening into their diplomatic postures. The next movement in their dance was about to begin, and this time, the entire galaxy would be watching. This is completely unprecedented. Ambassador Reeves slammed his hand on the crystalline table, causing ripples of discordant energy to flow through the council chamber. A diplomatic representative cannot simply be mystically married to an alien priestess. Through their bond, Nathaniel felt Saren's silent amusement at the human ambassador's display. Her outer appearance remained perfectly serene, her robes flowing with patterns of steady circles, patience. The soul binding was spontaneous, first speaker Jadden explained for what felt like the 100th time. Such occurrences are extraordinarily rare, but they are considered sacred among our people. To deny or break such a bond would be sacrilege, Elder Nyrus interrupted, her ancient voice carrying the weight of centuries. The oldest member of the Lysarian Council seemed to glow from within, her silver skin almost transparent. More than that, it would be impossible. Their essences are now fundamentally intertwined. Nathaniel could feel the truth of those words. After 2 weeks aboard the Twilight's embrace, his connection with Saren had only grown stronger. They could share not just emotions now, but complete thoughts, even dreams. Last night, they had walked together through a shared dreamscape of crystalline forests under twin moons, their consciousness dancing between reality and imagination. Then perhaps, a new voice cut in smoothly, we should focus on how to use this unique situation to our advantage. All eyes turned to the speaker, Director Lyon of Earth Intelligence. Her presence at what should have been a simple trade negotiation had set off warning bells in Nathaniel's diplomatic instincts. After all, Lyon continued, her smile not quite reaching her eyes, having a human so intimately connected to Lysarian consciousness could open up incredible opportunities for cultural exchange. The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop several degrees. Through the bond, Nathaniel felt Saren's sharp spike of alarm, quickly controlled but revealing. The soul bond is not a tool for intelligence gathering, Saren said, her voice carrying the harmonic overtones of her priestess training. It is a sacred connection between two beings, not a channel for technological exploitation. Of course, Lyon backpedaled smoothly. I merely meant. An urgent chime interrupted her, followed by a ship-wide announcement. Anomaly detected in the Meridian sector. All council members to the heart chamber immediately. The council chamber erupted into controlled chaos as the Lysarian elders rose in unison. Saren was already moving, her priestess training taking over, and Nathaniel followed instinctively, their bond pulling them in the same direction. This is a Lysarian matter, Ambassador Reeves protested. Actually, Jadden interjected, given Diplomat Reed's unique connection to both our peoples, his presence might be crucial. The heart chamber had transformed since Nathaniel's first visit. The crystalline pillars pulsed with urgent energy, and the transparent ceiling showed a swirling distortion in the fabric of space itself. Quantum storm, Elder Nyrus announced grimly. A big one. It's threatening the colonial outpost on Meridian III. Evacuation orders have been sent, another council member reported, but their ships won't be fast enough. Saren stepped forward, placing her hands on the master control crystal. Through their bond, Nathaniel felt her connecting with the ship's consciousness, seeing the situation through its sensors. Without thinking, he moved to stand behind her, placing his hands over hers. The effect was instantaneous and overwhelming. Their combined consciousness exploded outward, merging with the ship's awareness. Nathaniel could see, feel, taste the quantum disturbance, a massive tear in reality that threatened to swallow the small colony whole. The Twilight's embrace has the strongest quantum shields in the fleet, Saren said, thought. We could create a barrier. But the ship's consciousness can't process quantum fluctuations fast enough, Nathaniel completed her thought. Not alone. Understanding flowed between them. Together, they might be able to do what neither could alone, use their unique bond to help the ship predict and counter the storm's chaos. It's too dangerous, Elder Nyrus warned. A human consciousness was never meant to interface with our technology at this level. But that's exactly why it might work, Jadden realized. His different perspective combined with Saren's training. We have to try, Nathaniel and Saren said in unison. What followed was unlike anything in human or Lysarian experience. Through their bond, Nathaniel and Saren became one with the ship, their merged consciousness expanding to encompass the space around them. They saw the quantum storm as a living thing, a dance of probability and chaos. And they began to dance with it. Saren provided the technical knowledge, the understanding of how to manipulate quantum fields. Nathaniel contributed human intuition, seeing patterns where Lysarian logic found only chaos. Together, they wove a shield of pure consciousness, extending the ship's protective field around the colony. Through their expanded awareness, they could feel the colonists' fear turn to hope as the shield took hold. The quantum storm raged against their barrier, but they held firm, their bond growing stronger with each challenge. Hours passed like seconds, seconds stretched into eternities. When the storm finally dissipated, Nathaniel and Saren emerged from their merged state to find the council chamber silent with awe. "Impossible," Elder Nyrus whispered. "They actually did it." Director Lyon's expression was calculating, but Ambassador Reeves looked thoughtful. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we need to reconsider our approach to these negotiations." "Perhaps," Jadden agreed. "This incident demonstrates that there are many kinds of diplomatic relations." Nathaniel barely heard them. He was too focused on Saren, whose robes now showed patterns he'd never seen before, intricate spirals of joy and pride and something deeper, something that made his heart race. "We did it," he said softly. "We did more than that," she replied through their bond. "We proved that humans and Lysarians can do incredible things together." Her mental touch was warm with affection. "Though I suspect you and I already knew that." Looking around the chamber at the mixed expressions of shock, appreciation, and calculation on both human and Lysarian faces, Nathaniel knew their challenges were far from over. But for now, they had saved lives and possibly changed the future of human-Lysarian relations. Not bad for an accidental diplomatic incident, he thought, and felt Saren's laughter chime through their bond like stellar music. The summons came 3 days after the quantum storm incident. Nathaniel felt Saren's consciousness withdraw slightly, a sure sign that something was troubling her. "The High Temple on Lysar Prime requests my presence," she said, her robes shifting to sharp angles of concern. "Alone." They stood in her private quarters, surrounded by floating crystals that hummed with shared memories of their recent triumph. The colony on Meridian III had been saved, but their unprecedented joining with the ship's consciousness had sent shockwaves through both human and Lysarian society. "Is this about what we did?" Nathaniel asked, though their bond already carried her answer. "Partly," Saren touched one of the memory crystals, causing it to pulse with images of their shared dreamscape. "But there's more. The High Priestess herself wishes to speak with me. That hasn't happened since my initiation." Through their connection, Nathaniel felt the weight of this news. The High Priestess was more than a religious leader. She was the living anchor of Lysarian consciousness, the one who maintained their species' connection to the quantum realm. "I sense there's something you haven't told me," he said gently. Saren's robes swirled with patterns of turbulent seas, internal conflict. "Before our binding I was promised to another, a joining arranged by the temple meant to strengthen our people's psychic bloodlines." The revelation hit Nathaniel like a physical blow. Through their bond, he felt Saren's pain at having kept this from him, but also her genuine uncertainty about what it meant now. "His name is Vorin," she continued. "A powerful telepath from an ancient lineage. The joining was to take place next cycle, but then—" "Then you met me?" Nathaniel finished. The implications were staggering. Their spontaneous bond hadn't just complicated diplomacy, it had disrupted carefully laid plans for Lysarian genetic advancement. A knock at the door interrupted them. First speaker Jadden entered, their silver robes notably subdued. "The Council has received the High Temple's message. They've also received other news." Saren straightened, her diplomatic training taking over. "What kind of news?" "Director Lyon has been busy," Jadden said grimly. "She's proposed a formal alliance between Earth and Lysar Prime, with your bond as the centerpiece. She's suggesting a program to identify other potentially compatible humans and Lysarians. She wants to weaponize the soul bond," Nathaniel realized, disgust flowing through their connection. "The Earth Alliance sees potential," Jadden acknowledged. "Your performance during the quantum storm proved that combined human-Lysarian consciousness can achieve extraordinary things." "It's not a technology to be replicated," Saren said sharply. "The bond is sacred, unique to each pairing. To try to manufacture it would be an abomination," a new voice declared. They turned to find Elder Nyrus in the doorway, her ancient form seeming to flicker between dimensions. The High Priestess sent me ahead to prepare you, child. The choice you face is greater than any of us foresaw. The elder glided into the room, her presence causing the memory crystals to chime in harmony. When you were chosen for the arranged joining, it was because our seers predicted you would play a crucial role in our people's evolution. But they did not foresee this. She gestured between Saren and Nathaniel. A spontaneous cross-species soul bond, stronger than any we've recorded in centuries. Through their connection, Nathaniel felt Saren's turmoil deepen. What are you saying, Elder? The High Priestess believes your bond with the human may be the evolution we sought, not a carefully controlled breeding program, but a natural bridge between species. Elder Nyrus's eyes seemed to see through multiple realities at once. But there are those in the temple who disagree, who see this as a dilution of our sacred bloodlines. Vorin among them, I imagine, Saren said quietly. He has gathered considerable support, Jadden confirmed, and with Director Lyon pushing for militarization of the bond concept. The temple is divided, Elder Nyrus finished, as are our people, as I sense are you. She wasn't wrong. Nathaniel could feel Saren's consciousness churning with conflict, duty to her people warring with the undeniable reality of their connection. His own emotions were similarly turbulent, love and uncertainty braided together like quantum strings. What do we do? He asked, not sure if he was asking Saren, the Elder, or the universe itself. You must go to the temple, Elder Nyrus said. Both of you, though they asked for Saren alone, your bond has opened a door between our peoples, for better or worse. What lies beyond that door depends on the choices you make now. Saren's robes settled into a pattern of intersecting lines, decision crystallizing. When do we leave? The temple ship arrives in 6 hours. Elder Nyrus moved to the door, then paused. Remember, children, sometimes the most sacred paths are the ones we discover, not the ones we plan. After she left, Nathaniel and Saren stood in silence, their bond humming with shared apprehension and determination. Finally, Saren turned to him, her eyes holding galaxies of emotion. Whatever happens at the temple, she said, know that I don't regret our binding, not for a moment. Nathaniel pulled her close, their auras merging in a dance of light and shadow. Neither do I. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Through their bond flowed the strength of certainty, even in the face of uncertainty. They had found each other across the vast expanses of space, defied the expectations of two civilizations, and touched the quantum heart of reality itself. Whatever trials awaited them at the High Temple, they would face them as one consciousness in two forms, a living bridge between worlds. As they prepared for departure, the memory crystals around them sang with echoes of possible futures, some bright, some dark, all unknown. But in their shared mindscape, under the light of remembered twin moons, they danced on. The High Temple of Lysar Prime pierced the sky like a spire of living crystal, its surface rippling with the combined consciousness of thousands of priestesses. As their shuttle approached, Nathaniel felt Saren's mind tense with anticipation. It's beautiful, he said, both aloud and through their bond. And terrible, she added. The temple holds the accumulated power of generations of psychic ability. Even those of us trained from birth feel small before it. Their reception party waited in a garden of crystalline flowers that sang with psychic resonance. Vorin stood at the front, his tall form radiating controlled power. Through their bond, Nathaniel felt Saren's complex reaction to seeing her former intended, respect, regret, and relief all mixed together. Welcome home, Priestess Captain, Vorin said, his voice carrying harmonic undertones that made the crystal gardens shimmer. And welcome, human, to a place few of your kind have ever seen. Before either could respond, the air itself seemed to part, revealing the High Priestess. She appeared both ancient and ageless, her form seemingly composed of pure light given substance. When she spoke, her words bypassed sound entirely, manifesting directly in their minds. The bond-paired come before us, she said. Show me what you have created. It wasn't a request. Nathaniel felt their combined consciousness drawn forward, their bond laid bare before the High Priestess's cosmic awareness. She examined their connection from all angles, probing its strength, its nature, its potential. Fascinating, she said finally. Not just consciousness linked to consciousness, but soul to soul. Evolution finding its own path as it always has. Evolution toward weakness, Voron objected. Our bloodlines are stagnating, the High Priestess cut him off. We have bred for psychic power for so long that we've forgotten what it means to truly connect, to bond not by design but by destiny. She turned her radiant gaze to Saren. You were to be the culmination of centuries of careful breeding. Instead, you have become something far more valuable, a bridge between species, a proof that connection transcends biology. And that's precisely why this must be studied, regulated. Director Lyon's voice cut through the garden as she emerged from behind a crystal formation. Imagine the potential if we could replicate this bond, create a force of human Lysarian paired consciousness. How did you get here? Nathaniel demanded, but he already knew. The Earth Alliance had followed their shuttle, unwilling to let such a potentially valuable asset out of their sight. Director Lyon raises an interesting point, Voron said smoothly. If the bond could be controlled, standardized. It cannot be, the High Priestess stated. What these two share was born of spontaneous quantum entanglement at the deepest level of reality. Try to force such connections, and you will create only pale imitations, or worse, abominations. Through their bond, Nathaniel felt Saren's consciousness pulse with sudden understanding. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Not just my arranged joining with Voron, but the temple's entire breeding program. You've been trying to recreate something that can't be manufactured. For centuries, the High Priestess confirmed. We thought we could design perfect connections, engineer ideal pairings. We forgot that the strongest bonds are those that form naturally across all barriers of species and space. But surely we can't just leave it to chance, Voron protested. Our entire society is built on controlled psychic breeding. Perhaps it's time for that to change. The High Priestess raised her hands, and the crystal garden came alive with images, possible futures flowing like water through the translucent structures. I see two paths before us. One leads to stagnation wrapped in the illusion of control. The other is uncertain, Saren finished, but full of potential. The High Priestess smiled. The universe itself was born of chaos and chance, children. Why should love be any different? Love, Director Lyon scoffed. This is about power, about progress. This is about choice, Nathaniel said firmly, his consciousness fully merged with Saren's now, their combined voice carrying its own harmonic weight. The choice to connect, to grow, to become more than what others planned for us. Through their bond flowed absolute certainty. Whatever came next, their connection was real, valid, and valuable precisely because it hadn't been engineered or controlled. The High Priestess raised her hands once more, and reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Then choose, she said simply. Saren's response flowed through their bond before she spoke it. We choose each other, not because of politics or prophecy, but because our souls resonate at the same frequency. Whatever bridges that builds between our peoples should grow naturally, not be forced. As it should be, the High Priestess declared. Let it be known that the temple recognizes and blesses this spontaneous bond. Furthermore, we will end the practice of arranged psychic joinings. Let connections form as they will within our species and beyond it. You can't do this, Voron protested, but his words seemed to fade into irrelevance. The Earth Alliance will not accept, Director Lyon began. The Earth Alliance, Nathaniel interrupted, will accept that some things cannot and should not be controlled, or they'll find themselves without any diplomatic channels to Lysar Prime at all. The High Priestess's approval radiated through the garden, causing the crystal flowers to burst into psychic bloom. Now you understand. True power lies not in control, but in connection freely given and received. As if in response to her words, Nathaniel and Saren's bond suddenly deepened, expanding beyond anything they'd yet experienced. Through their merged consciousness, they could see the quantum threads that connected all things, stars and souls and possibilities infinite as space itself. In that moment of transcendent connection, they understood that their story was more than a diplomatic incident or a genetic anomaly. It was a reminder that the greatest discoveries often come not from careful planning, but from the unexpected moments when hearts and souls align across the vast distances between stars. The crystal garden sang with new frequencies as they sealed their choice with a kiss that rippled through multiple dimensions. Their bond, once an accident of quantum chance, had become something else entirely, a bridge between worlds, a path to evolution, and above all, a love story written in the language of stardust and soul light. As the twin sons of Lysar Prime sat behind the temple spire, their combined consciousness reached out to touch the infinite. In the space between species, beyond the edge of known stars, they had found not just each other, but a new way forward for both their peoples. The universe, vast and mysterious, pulsed with possibilities. And somewhere in the quantum dance of reality, other souls waited to find their own unexpected connections, their own bridges across the starlit void. For Nathaniel and Saren, it was just the beginning.